Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from Miniart. So this is a 135 scale kit and it copies Panzerkampf-Wagen Ausf.J. As you can see, it's a Nibelungenwerk late production, January-February 1945. And this is an interior kit which is quite interesting because you will get all the internals with this tank, and we have a commercial sample here, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this video review. So once again, this is a kit in 135 scale, kit number is 35342, and as you remember, we reviewed another interior version before. If you haven't seen this video review, I really recommend to check it because it's also an interesting version of this PEMOS tank. But today we are going to talk about the latest, or the, let's say, the latter type of this tank, which was the last produced. And as you can see, it has this external armor, and there is a figure depicted, but I think it is not included into this kit. We will see. And the box size is typical for this brand. Here you can see comparison with my hand. Next, on the side we have some information about the kit and also address of the manufacturer here. And on the other side, just give me a second, here we have 5 marking options which are included into this kit. So they look quite interesting. As you can see, they're different, so definitely you'll find something interesting. Of course, obviously nobody stops you from getting something different, completely different, if you have some reference material. So box design is standard for Miniart. We have a top opening box, and here's what we have inside. This is quite a hefty package. So as you can see, it's full of various sprues, so once you open it, you won't be able to close it again. I mean, once you take out all the sprues out of this plastic bag, so be careful with that. And of course, we are going to open it. As you can see, everything is sealed into one plastic bag, and on the bottom we have assembly manual, so we will open it and check everything closer. In the meantime, let me remind you also that you can support us financially. We have a special donate button on our website, or you can click the link in the video description below. It will redirect you to the PayPal gate where you will be able to choose the amount you would like to send us. And even the small donation is really important for us because it will help us get the new kits, or maybe improve our new get the new photo and video equipment, which will improve the quality of these video reviews and articles on our website. So now I'm opening this plastic bag. It's a bit tedious work to do. Okay, so we take it out, and I will place this plastic bag here. So what do we have here? First of all, we have large envelope with Miniart logo. So as usual, everything what is hidden inside such envelope in Miniart kit is the PE thread. But here we get 2 of them. Why? Because first one is dedicated to the external armor you saw on the box art. As you can see, it's unpainted PE thread. So that's even better because you'll be able to cover it with whatever shade you prefer to use. And as you can see, we have really good product here. It's wrapped into the special film, which is also a handy feature because it will help you to avoid, for example, losing these tiny bits, because sometimes they just jump off. But here, if you leave this film from one side, it will keep all the parts in place. And the same applies to the smaller PE thread. So here it is. Here we have more parts for internal and external details. So again, be careful with them. Some of them are really tiny, so it's better to use some sharp tweezers, because otherwise it will be quite a work to get them into the right spot. Next, we continue with the plastic bag. So here it is. We have a clear frame together with the decal sheet. So again, I need scissors in order to open it. Just give me a second. I'll open it and we will take a closer look. So first of all, we have a clear frame. So here it is. And you can notice that here we have almost all necessary parts for the interior. We have periscopes, we have lenses for headlamps and taillights, and molding quality seems to be fine, but there are no masks included whatsoever. So if you would like to cover it somehow, you will have to get some masks, maybe from aftermarket manufacturer, maybe to cut them by your own tools and hands, and it might be a bit tedious. I usually choose just to paint them with a clear and then to wipe with a thinner. Next, we continue with this. So this is a decal sheet, obviously, it comes from Decograph. Note that we have some decals for interior as well. Printing quality looks quite nice. And as you remember, there are more than 2 marking options, so definitely you'll find something interesting for your build. If not, then, I mean, even the standard markings are okay, but there are some reference material available, so you can find something different. Next, we continue with a small first gray plastic sprue. So here we have a special assembly jig for the tracks. As you can see, you put the track parts here, and then you will be inserting pins from both sides, locking them together. You will see it in assembly manual when we will be checking. It will be easier to understand, I guess. Next, we continue with the first gray plastic sprue. I mean the big one, the proper one, not the one we saw before. So here you can see that we have hull parts. Maybe I'll open the camera a bit so that it won't be that dark. And let's zoom out a bit. So here you can see hull parts, and these ones look really good, but you have to check the alignment because whole box structure will be assembled out of these separate panels here and there. We also have some turret parts here, and note that, for example, gun muzzles, they're molded as a single piece part, so we can zoom in so that you can check what I'm talking about. Here they are. And that's really good that they're molded as one-piece parts. You won't have to deal with separate hulls. And of course, for example, these hull parts, by the way, here you can see main barrel. So main hull parts, they are also detailed inside as well. We have interior kit, so it would be strange to see a plain part inside with all internals copied, but that's not the case, obviously. So next we continue. Just give me a second to place this frame aside. So next, as I said, we continue with another gray plastic sprue. Here it is. And here you can see the lower hull panel. We also have fender part. We again can see here the turret part. Maybe we can zoom in a bit. And if I flip it over again, we have some internal features as well. So maybe here we can zoom in so that you can understand what I'm talking about. And obviously it would be a good idea to show all this stuff because it would be a shame to hide it inside, just to assemble it and hide it. And obviously you get the interior kit not for enclosing the whole hull and not showing what is actually inside. Okay, next we continue with one more gray plastic sprue. So this one is obviously concerned with interior. We have a lot of various parts, so let's zoom in again. It's pretty much the same set of parts as what we saw in the previous interior release. So as you can see, a lot of small parts as well. So be sure to plan everything thoroughly because as you can see, some parts can be installed inside, but then it will be really tricky to paint them, to reach them somehow. So you will have to think through on what to paint first, what to install in advance, and etc, etc. That's, let's say, the main interest of the interior kit, that it trains this skill in your modeler skill set. So it might be a bit tedious, I know that it will be time consuming, but the final result will be worth it, believe me, because you can find the build of the interior kit from Miniart on our YouTube channel. I tell in a detailed way what was happening with this or that part, so definitely check it if you would like to know more about such type of kits. Here we continue with another gray plastic sprue. Let's zoom in again. So here you can see some parts for the engine and these drive belts, for example, and various pipings. Here we continue with fans for the radiator. And everything looks cool. Attachment points are thin enough in order to carefully separate all these parts and get them ready to be installed in the tank. So it's just a matter of careful assembly, and I wouldn't say that it looks way too difficult, but definitely it's more of a stuff for experienced modelers, in my opinion. So here we continue with more parts for the interior. Again, everything looks cool, so we can just zoom in and start from this corner. So here, for example, you can see the drive shaft, which is molded as a single piece part. Of course, you have to delete these pins. It is minor feature which you have to live with. Next we continue with various items, for example for the drivetrain, it's a gearbox if I'm not wrong. And as you can see, again, a lot of features in the interior, various minor handles are copied in plastic and PE, and let's not forget that we have PE parts here as well, so you have to install or combine all this stuff together in order to get even more impressive interior. Here you can check parts from the opposite side, and there are guiding pins inside, by the way. So what I was saying is that it might look a bit difficult. Just give me a sec. Okay, so it might look a bit difficult, and that's why I'm not recommending it to beginners, but experienced modelers should be fine as long as they're okay with spending a bit more time assembling the model. I mean, we are all used now to all this shake and bake kit, but here we have a slightly different story because you have to work with it properly, you have to think through all the steps in advance, and it might be a different experience definitely. So here we have side panels for the lower hull section, and again it is detailed from both sides. So here you can see external, and here you can see inner side of these parts. Obviously we'll have to delete these pins because they shouldn't be inside, especially if you plan to show the interior. It would look strange to have plastic pins inside, unless you're trying to copy the plastic tank. Next we continue with more of engine parts. So engine can be considered here as a kit on its own, just like in any other interior kit from Miniart. So you can see there are a lot of parts involved, and that's why it would be a wise idea to spend some time painting and weathering it, because it would be a shame to leave it in a, I would say, some simple finish. And that's why I recommend to focus on it, think through what you would like to copy with it, and then implement it in the scale. By the way, here is one more plastic sprue for the engine so that you can see what we are actually getting here. I think they also plan to release it as a separate kit. There is definitely a separate kit available for this engine and figures. We reviewed it, so you can find it on our YouTube channel. But it wouldn't be strange to see this kit as a separate release, because it might be a good addition to some different tank model, because this engine was used in several tank types, if I'm not wrong. So definitely you don't have to be using the Miniart plastic in order to employ this power plant. Next we continue with one more plastic sprue. Here we have Pioneer tools. With Pioneer tools, Miniart decided to use quite an interesting approach, because we can use the standard molding, and here you can see that tools are molded together with clamps, and we can move to the next plastic sprue while I'm telling about another assembly option. So here we go on with more Pioneer tools, and the second assembly option will be to combine these plastic tools with PE parts. So obviously it will be a way more detailed way, but it will be also way more time consuming. So if you're fine with that, and if you're ready to dedicate your time to such step, it's definitely a way to go, because it will benefit the external appearance of your model. Okay. Next, what do we have here is drivetrain parts. Okay, so just give me a second, everything falls off. So here we have drive sprockets. They should be assembled out of two parts, obviously. Molding quality seems to be fine. Note that attachment points are placed right on the teeth, which is also a good thing, because you won't damage the drive sprockets while separating them. You can do it carefully and avoid any excessive cleaning, just like with some other kits from different brands. Next we go on with these pins. So these pins will be actually used for tracks, and as you can see we have exactly measured portion. It will be inserted from the side on this special jig. So as you can see, they're exactly measured to be the same amount, and that's why it will be a straightforward process. It's not that tedious, I would say, so don't be afraid of it. Next we continue with one more plastic sprue. Here we have again internal elements for the turret. So these ones are parts for the main gun, and everything looks nice, but you have to be careful with thin parts, because it's really easy to break them, and then it's really difficult to fix them. We all know this, and some of you might have encountered it already. Next we continue with idlers. So here they are. I'm not sure why we have separate rings here, so we will have to consult with the assembly manual, but molding quality seems to be fine, so I have nothing against it. And next we continue with rolled wheels. So rolled wheels are provided on two pairs of sprues, so here they are. I will show you only one because obviously they carry the same set of parts. Just give me a second. I need to place some frames aside. So here it is. We have separate rolled wheels which are molded together with the rubber sections. Again, there is no painting plate or no painting mask for this, so you will have to use your own. And I'm not sure why Miniart keeps ignoring such a simple bonus which will speed up the assembly process, especially in such kit where we have these rubber sections on the rolled wheels. But molding quality seems to be fine, if I'm not wrong. Yes, here on the rubber sections you can see also that we have a manufacturer logo, which is really cool because it's almost just like on resin parts which are usually used by some modders in order to upgrade this type of tank, and here you get it as a standard bonus in a plastic kit, so definitely a nice thing. And the only thing you have to pay attention is how to paint this stuff. Okay, next we continue with this plastic frame. So here we have external armor for the turret. Let's zoom out a bit, and also some hull parts. So as you can see, even though hull armor panels were molded or made as a PE parts, here we have them out of plastic. It might be good for some modders, and I guess it is the same thickness as the real ones. So that's why Miniart decided to copy them in plastic. Next we go on with one more plastic frame. Here we have internal parts. Nothing special, just separate panels. So we can move on to the next one. And what do we have here? Here we have ammo rounds which are molded on 4 identical plastic frames. So here they are. And that is, I would say, two-shaped sword, two-edged sword, because we have them separate. We can assemble them and place, for example, on the tank. We can place them around the tank, and from the other side you will have to paint them one by one. You will have to install them one by one, so it might be a bit tedious to do, and some modders might not be that happy. I know some lazy modders who are expecting some pre-molded shapes as well. Next we continue with the track links. So they come packed in this plastic bag. As you can see, they look quite nice, so it's just a matter of assembling them on the special jig. So you will be cutting them off from this connection dots, installing them here on this assembly jig, and then inserting the pins which you saw before from the other side. Quite an interesting design, and as I said, it should be pretty straightforward, so it won't take that much time, just like some other tracks from Miniart. Next we have tensioners. They come on 3 identical plastic frames. Again, nice molding quality, and it's just a matter of combining them together because they will be in pairs. Okay, next we continue with, so there are more armor rounds here, so 2 more plastic frames. I somehow did not see them. Here we have tensioners again, so these are large wheels. I guess they will not be used in this version, but we will have to check the assembly manual in order to be sure. Okay. Next we continue with 2 identical plastic frames. Here we have mix of various elements. So these are internal and external parts. I will place it like this so that you can check what we have here. Note that we even have some separate hatches here. So you will have to place them in open or closed position, whether you would like this or that. Next we continue with more hull parts. So again, they come on 2 identical plastic frames. Here you can take an overall look, and I would like to show you again the casting marks on this part. So they come as a standard elements on plastic parts, and that's really cool. It would be a good idea to show them somehow, to bring them out with help of weathering, because such features are not that usually met in the plastic kits. Next we continue, even today I would say. Next we continue with 2 identical plastic frames with various internal elements. So all these parts will go inside the tank. Okay. one more plastic frame is dedicated to various hull sections. So here you can see it. And we should zoom out, I guess, because otherwise you won't be able to check the whole frame. So again, we have here we have the top turret cover, rear armor cover, some armor panels for the superstructure, let's say, on the hull. Again, separate hatches. Here we have some thin parts. I guess this will be used for the external armor, so be careful with them. And I guess we can zoom in so that you can check everything closer. So everything looks nice, molding quality looks clean, but you might be spending some time with these thin parts. As I said before, here you can check everything from inside. So again, we have some features inside as well. It's not just a plain plastic part from the opposite side. That again, I would say that it would be strange to see in an interior kit. And next, what do we have next? There are two small frames with hull parts and hatches, as you can see. And if we flip them over, they are also detailed from the opposite side. Okay. And last but not the least is this gray plastic sprue, which is dedicated to the turret part. So turret is separated into several panels. All the hatches again are separate. We even have some hull parts as well. So everything looks cool, it's just a matter of careful alignment, so maybe it would be a wise idea to do a dry fitment before gluing everything in place, but other than that I do not see anything to suggest here, so it's more of a, I would say, spending some time in order to get the right fitment. Next we can continue with assembly manual. So this one is printed in form of large brochure, so we should zoom out as much as we can, close the camera. And this is a color printed brochure. We have cover with short list of the features. This is interior kit, as you remember. Let's open it, and here inside you can see first two marking options. So this one comes from March 1945, this one is from Spring 1945. Both are winter camouflages, so some modders might like it. Next we continue with the parts map, and here you have to pay attention because Miniart does not show what is not used in this kit. So if you would like to use the proper version, be careful and pay attention to which part is employed here and there. As you can see, nothing is mentioned regarding which part is not used in this version, in today's version, let's say. So it might be a bit tricky for some modders who haven't encountered such style. Next we start assembly process with the lower hull section. As you can see, you will have to install some panels on the floor panel, let's say. And here we also start working on the armor rounds. As you can see, we have to paint them separately, then install into the special holders, which are assembled with help of PE parts. So you start to work with PE parts straight away, here straight on the first step, if you were wondering. Next we have an option for the assembly. I'm not sure what it will give, so we will have to check. But the next step is the gearbox. As you can see, you install or apply the dials for the instrument panel. And then this gearbox goes into the front side. So here it is with all the control elements in place. We install all the armor rounds. And next step is more panels for the hull section, and we start working on the engine. So engine will be quite interesting, as you remember. So here you will have to spend some time and note how many steps are actually dedicated to the engine, to brakes as well. And brakes also use PE parts, so again you will have to use tweezers in order to get everything into the right spot. And some parts are really tiny, as you can see, so and we also repeat some tasks from both sides, obviously, in order to get a proper assembly. And here we start working on the side armor panels. As you can see, they will be joined from both sides. And by the way, here you can check the assembly process for the tracks. These are actually spare tracks which will be placed on the front section of the main hull. And what is next? Here we continue with more parts for the rear section. As you can see, there is even a chain replicated with PE parts, and you get it in the standard package. You don't have to resort for some aftermarket sets, which is really cool because it gives you all the necessary features. And I think maybe that's the main thing about the interior kit that you get really crazy features out of the box. You don't have to resort to some aftermarket. As you can see, there is some assembly options, whether you would like to open or close hatches, whether you would like to replicate this or that version. And that's really cool because it gives you various options on what you would like to see on your model. Here we continue with assembly of the top hull section, let's say, or the superstructure which is placed on the lower hull section. It gets assembled or glued out of separate panels. So again, check the alignment, because as you can see, it gets assembled separately and then it will be installed on the lower section of the hull. And again, we have hatches molded as a separate parts, and they can be opened on your model. Here, by the way, you can see this installation process. So it would be a wise idea again to track the fitment of these parts. For the towing cables, you'll have to use some metal wire because it's not included here, and some others might be confused by this fact. I wonder why Miniart does not include some metal wire here. And by the way, here you can see the radiator assembly. So next we continue with various Pioneer tools, and by the way, here you can see the assembly options. So you can either use the plastic one or you can replace it with PE parts or PE clamps, which will be holding these tools in place. Next we have fire extinguisher and some mud guards. As you can see, they can be flipped over. That's also assembly option. And again, more tools, more various items. And then we start working on the suspension parts. So again, you assemble the separate drivetrain bogies and install them onto the lower hull section. It might be a bit tedious work because you have to do it once in a time and then install from both sides. And note that external armor clamps, they're made out of PE parts. Also quite a tricky stuff because you have to get everything into the right spot. By the way, here is the assembly process for the tracks. So each side or each track link contains 101 track. So from both sides 101. Next, we continue with external armor. Here you can see that this PE part will be assembled together with plastic parts and then get installed onto the hull. And what I'm trying to understand, what is the difference between here? So I guess it's the use of PE parts maybe. Next we continue with more external armor options. As you can see, that's actually the opposite side. And only then on step 109 you start working on the turret. So again, it will be also quite a detailed thing inside. So I wonder how to expose all this stuff on the finished model, because it would be a shame to hide all these features in the model. Next we continue with covering this external armor shell, covering the overall turret assembly. You assemble the main gun. As you remember, the muzzle brake is molded as a single piece part. Here we continue with external armor. As you remember, it is molded as out of plastic. And then you install the turret. So 148 steps to perform in order to have your tank just be ready to be painted and weathered outside. Here we have third marking option from spring 1945. And fourth marking option comes from the same season. And here we have one more from May 1945. As you can see, it comes in this interesting green camouflage. So the final choice is obviously up to you. But as for the whole kit, it should be already available. You can get it on official Miniart website and also in Modelimex webshop. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about this release. Write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, do not forget to press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today and watching this video review. Do not forget to check some other reviews with Miniart kits, and I will see you in the next video review or report. Bye!